Today, no fins freediving training with Michaela Werner. We're going to dive straight into this tips and tricks. Michaela, why do so many people find no fins more challenging than other freediving disciplines?
Well, I think because it is the most challenging discipline, for me, it is also the most rewarding. Because you have to work on your progress. In today's world of instant gratification, when we are used to just getting everything we want instantly, with no fins, it doesn't work. So I think many people find it frustrating. In comparison to other disciplines where people use fins, you can get away with imperfections if your shoulders aren't flexible enough or you are struggling with your mobility. The fins kind of tend to hide it and you still get the speed that you want and you can enjoy the dive. But with no fins, we are in water which is 800 times denser than air.
Yes.
So any inefficiency really shows up and you feel it. Your CO2 gets really high and you're losing your oxygen very quickly as well. I think these are the main reasons why people struggle with it so much.
What do you think are the top 3 mistakes that people make in no fins?
So the first one, I think, is that people rely on weights and the suits all the time because as freedivers, we are really accustomed to, let's just feel comfortable and let's make everything perfect. But with no fins, it actually works a bit against you because you are essentially taking away that sensory environment that the water is providing. So when you take the weights and suit away, you're just really left with nothing and you have to deal with your buoyancy issues. So you learn how your lungs influence your dives and your buoyancy. And you have to work harder because suddenly the glide gets much shorter. So you have to adjust your technique. And by doing this, you also build up your strength. And so that's probably number one mistake.
So what you're advising people to do is to start training no fins without a wetsuit and without weights.
Yes, exactly.
So the first thing they will tell you is, but if I don't use weights, I will go back up.
Yes, it will happen at first. So you have to actually notice, okay, the size of my in-breath, how is it going to affect the glide, the push of the wall? So you realize, actually, I can't have full lungs of air if I want to stay down, right? So you may even exhale a little bit. I advise people to just take it really step by step and start from the push of the wall and try to experience the glide. Everybody wants to get into straight away, how is my stroke? I want to do my arms and legs, and it's just all too much.
It's too much. And I want to do 25 meters or I want to do 50 meters.
Yeah, we are obsessed about this distance rather than focusing on the process of, okay, how do I actually work this out? How do I save the energy?
Okay. So no wetsuits. Mistake number 2.
I think people underestimate the training they can do on land. For no fins, we want to develop mobility of the joint, develop explosive power of the muscles. For this, we need gravity. On land, you can start to notice if you can't put your arms above your head comfortably, or if you can squat down, which is one technique that I teach my students because squatting down, it instantly shows you your mobility and flexibility of your ankles, of your knees, of your hips, which are directly related to your push of the wall and your kick.
That's interesting.
So working with gravity and finding out your weakness and then focusing on fixing on land, so then you can reap the benefits in the water.
Yeah, so that's a lot of work to do on dry land. Fix your physical issues that are holding you back from getting better at no fins. Can you share a couple of practical tips that people could apply right now to make their no fins better?
What I noticed with my students over the years is that when I film them and they see themselves performing the actual stroke, they're always amazed what they look like because they see themselves differently and they see themselves doing the perfect things maybe. But then see yourself on camera and you see, oh no, this doesn't look right. I can improve on this. I can improve on that. Definitely ask somebody to film you and either try to analyze the video yourself or ask someone like me who has experience and just to give you feedback.
Yep. What people see on a video might be very different from what they think they were doing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Use the opportunity to build up your aerobic fitness first, because that's what ultimately is going to give you the distance. And, without going into too much detail, I've written a blog post about it recently, but it's actually doing short distances, maximum 25 meters for quite some time. So you really iron out those inefficiencies of the stroke and you increase your aerobic capacity. And then the idea is that the 50s will start to feel like 25s, especially if you then put on the weights and the suit, and simply the feeling you want to achieve is just this effortless, powerful stroke.
So first become a master at 25 meters and then go further than that. So what if you're a beginner and you feel like you need to do a lot of strokes, you feel like you're using a lot of energy, how do we fix that?
In the beginning, because we talk about relaxation in freediving a lot, right? So people have this idea in their mind that you should be relaxed from day one. But relaxation is in the mastery. So the relaxation will come. It's part of the process. You can't expect a perfection on day one. So I would advise the beginners to engage the muscles so that you are in this aero position going through the water with your muscles engaged in the right position where you think that your arms should be. Even engaging your core will lead to greater stability and improved glide. If you are a little bit stiff at the start, that's totally fine.
Yes.
Just know it's part of the process.
So we're talking about no fins, of course, and not static apnea. So in static apnea, you just can completely physically relax, but in no fins, you can't because you have to maintain that streamlined position. So that's the big difference between static breath holding and no fins. Let's talk a little bit about yourself. How did you first discover no fins? Was it easy for you from the start?
No, definitely it wasn't. I came across freediving 16 years ago, and after I completed my freediving course, I went to a training session with a few freedivers. That's when I tried no fins for the first time. And I still remember because my husband, then my boyfriend was there, and I laughed because I kicked and I went actually backwards. That's how hopeless my kick was at the start.
Some people might relate to this.
Yeah.
People are watching.
Yeah, exactly. And, on top of that, I was a swimmer. So it's not like water was new environment for me, but I was a freestyler. So I never really did anything with breaststroke. I was also lucky enough that I discovered yoga at around this time in my life. So through yoga, I started to work on opening my body, and I found that helped so much in gaining the power of the kick and the power of the arms. When people look at the beautiful yoga pose, they want to get there today, but you don't realize it took this person years.
Yes, it's a long
years of work. Yeah, to get there, it's a step-by-step process. And with no fins, it's the same. So as my body was opening up and strengthening, so my no fins improved.
So when you say, Michaela, my body was opening up, what exactly are we talking about here? Opening up in the thoracic area or more hip opening? What would you say is most important?
Yeah, I don't think there is one most important thing. It's a combination of things. For somebody, it may be their ankle mobility, which we use for the push of the wall as well as for the kick. It may be the knee problem. If people had knee injuries, that's something they have imbalances in left and right side of their hips. And that's something they have to address and work on, or their shoulders, or even their lower back. I mean, I can't really tell you one thing. In my course, this is what we talk about this later, but it's a process of self-discovery that nobody is the same.
And the beauty of no fins for me is in the technique. It's not in how far I swim, but it's in in just getting it as perfectly as possible, which is a constant quest. So that's what makes it so beautiful. So you've come a long way. How did you eventually refine your technique to the level you are today, a master level?
Well, it was just being completely obsessed about it and very passionate, because at the start it was not very rewarding. It took some time, but then I noticed, well, suddenly from 5 strokes per 25 meters, I'm reducing to 3 strokes, to 2 strokes, to 1.5 strokes if I really want to experience that long glide. So that is incredibly rewarding, and people comment on it and want to know how. I'm just now in the position where I'm more than happy to share what I've learned on this very, very long journey.
So not that long ago, you set a Guinness World Record. That was
Mhm.
101 laps of 25 meters, right? Before we go
Mhm.
into that, how this is done, why did you do this? Why did you decide to go for a Guinness World Record?
That was interesting. Firstly, I have to say that there was a bit of ego involved because, of course, being the first in the world to do anything has to be ego driven. That's the motivation to train. So I watched a couple of years ago, William Trubridge. He did exactly that. He was raising money for Ukraine, and he did 121 laps in 1 hour. I watched it in disbelief, thought this is amazing. I wonder what I can do. And I knew my speed was very similar to his. So I thought, well, I have to train this. See if I can train this somehow to have very short rests between the dives. So it was a personal challenge.
Interesting. You mentioned the ego, because I tell my students, and I'm sure you do the same, to leave the ego at home. You know, freediving is all about ditching the ego and focusing on the process. But here you are telling me that it's the ego that actually inspired you to set this record. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. I guess if we go for maximums in freediving, like for records, there's always a bit of ego involved, right?
Yeah, and you can use it as a tool. It doesn't have to be the only source of motivation. If the ego is the only source of motivation, that's what is not long-term sustainable. If you use it as the motivation to train and to kind of see what is inside of you, to dig deep, that's when it can serve really well.
Yeah.
And on this journey, I definitely discovered the actual 1 hour of doing the world record was like a cherry on the cake. You know, the cake was in the training and in the process and in everything that I've learned along the
That's
way.
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So, talk us a bit through your training for this. How did you train for this record?
I set myself this goal of 100 laps 6 months before the actual attempt. I have to apply for it, and they have to approve it, and they have to approve the distance and so forth. So I thought, with my experience of doing this for like 15 years, I thought 6 months will be long enough to build myself up to that level so I can not only survive doing these 100 laps in 1 hour, but actually the idea was to enjoy the 1 hour. I didn't want to be just barely scraping by and just, oh my God, near-death experience.
1 hour of suffering is a bit too long, right? So you had to find a way to enjoy this. Yeah. So
Yeah.
talk us through the sequences. So 101 laps of 25 meters in 1 hour. So you must have done some calculations, right?
Yeah, so the challenge was basically to part every 36 seconds from the wall. So you have 25-meter pool. And if I am departing every 36 seconds, this includes the dive time and the rest time, I would be assured that I do slightly more than 100 laps an hour. So that's what I trained for. And it is amazing how fine-tuned my body became, because I tried to do 34 seconds, for example, instead of 36 seconds, and I did 70 laps of that. I switched from the aerobic to anaerobic mode, and my body was so loaded with CO2 that it just wasn't sustainable. In the end, I was very comfortable with the 36 seconds departure. But to be honest, Gerd, it was really hard because on the day I felt so strong and I had a bit of adrenaline through my veins. I felt I could go much faster than 36 seconds, almost like 30 seconds. We had this agreement that I wouldn't do it because I tried it in training. I probably would have to pay for it.
So you were getting a bit overexcited and overconfident, but who knows what do you think would have happened if you would have done less than 36 seconds? You don't know, right? But maybe you might have gassed out.
No, yeah, I sneakily did it in training. So I did 108 laps, maybe 10 days before the actual attempt. But it was really hard, because I was going pedal to the metal and I was super relaxed. There was no pressure or anything. As we know, when you are in competition environment, when there is media, when there are your friends and your family, my kids were there and everything, I really just wanted to make it enjoyable.
Yes, because the stress is a bit higher when you actually go for the record. So that's something that lots of people don't know maybe, but in training, you're super relaxed because there is no pressure. But when you show up for this competition or for this record, suddenly now things have to happen. So that changes the mindset. So 36 seconds, every 36 seconds, you push off from the wall. But that doesn't mean it takes you 36 seconds to swim a lap, right? How many seconds do you need to swim one lap?
Yeah, so my average speed ended up being 23 seconds per lap. So I did a few hook breaths and then I was breathing through my nose because I found that the nasal breathing just calms me down massively. So yeah, it was maybe 3 hook breaths at a time and then breathing through the nose for the rest of the time until I heard 5, 4, 3. That's when I was getting ready to dive again.
This lap's a big milestone. We've spoken about this for months, of getting to lap 80 and knowing no matter what physical or mental condition Mish will be in, that 20 laps is doable, basically, under any circumstance. So that's a huge milestone.
So in those 13 seconds, there's a lot that's happening. There is a few recovery breaths. Then you do what we call in freediving the tidal breathing, right? You do it through the nose, but that's only a couple of seconds, right? Because it's only 13 seconds in total. And then you take a final breath. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. And, my lungs weren't chock-a-block full because it was only 25 meters. So just one big breath of air and that was quick and that was efficient enough. And off I went. And basically, I spent 42 minutes underwater out of that 1 hour. An interesting statistic, isn't it?
42 minutes. That's amazing. Yeah. So you made a course, right, about no fins. Let's talk a bit about that. Why did you make this course? What inspired you to do so?
Well, I learned so much through the experience of training for this world record and throughout being competitive freediver for many years. I felt like I have accumulated all this knowledge and I see people all the time making so many mistakes in dolphins that I felt could be easily dealt with. But I looked around and there was not a single tool for people who wanted to self-teach themselves how to improve. Either they had to pay expensive coaches one-on-one or just do it on their own. And so there wasn't any other solution. So I thought, okay, I will create it. I designed this 12-week online course where people can go through it step by step. And I am taking them through the process of self-discovery, what we talked about, testing their mobility, testing their strength, testing the lung capacity, and then teaching them how to improve step by step. Yeah.
Yes. Who did you design this course for? Is this for beginners, for advanced? Who will benefit from your course?
Yeah, so I would say it's for all levels of freedivers. The only thing is that prerequisite is that you are a freediver, so you know the basics of safety, even though I do cover them at the start of the course. If you are a beginner, you're going to get so much out of it because it's a step-by-step process. But if you are an experienced freediver, you will really discover some of your inefficiencies because everyone is different. You may be lacking in your mental training, which I also included as part of this course towards the end. So basically, you will become your own coach. you will guide it through this journey of self-discovery throughout the course. And part of it is also community. So you have 3 different options, 3 different levels. Level 1 is if you feel like you can self-study and go through it on your own pace at your time. Or level 2 option is where the community and myself get involved every day, and you get feedback. We have challenges and people comment on their progress, and we kind of help each other to get better. And you can be anywhere in the world. That's the beauty of it. Yeah, you don't have to be here with me in Australia. You can simply submit your underwater video and I look at it and give you feedback, and others will give you feedback.
I'll put your link in the description of this video. What are your plans for the rest of this year, 2025?
Yes, so this year is really all about helping other freedivers to get better. So I'm creating lots of educational content and writing blogs and collaborating with other freedivers like yourself. That's super exciting. And I have another world record planned towards the end of the year. And
one more?
and this time it's going to be a team event. So it's not just me, but it's going to be a team of 9 freedivers. We're doing no fins, and we have to cover more than 60 kilometers underwater in 24 hours. So that's going to be interesting.
That's going to be interesting. And I would love to hear the calculations for that, maybe in a later podcast. People can find you in the description of this video. I'll put your links there. Any last words?
The last thing I would like to leave people with is to think about freediving as not just an activity you do, but it's a place you go. You should really enjoy the process of self-discovery, to be spending this time without any devices, in silence, underwater, and, opportunity to really listen to your body and to your mind, and then transferring these findings into your daily life. What lessons does water teach you? I shouldn't push with force. Maybe I should go with softness and work towards the flow. So working too hard against the elements is not the best. This is definitely what freediving has given me. I became a better mom, a better wife, and better friend because of it. So
a better freediver and a better person. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Michaela. Peace in every breath.